Only one of these two will be able to sit in the grand final chair. Only one of these two will be in the advantage side of grand finals, where they only need to win one match. And there's only one way to find that out. Who is going to be taking the crown? We've seen some phenomenal plays from Glyph. We've seen Astro demonstrate once again why he is seen by many as the best ARMS player of North America, perhaps to some even the world. Does Glyph stand a chance? Will he be able to take this Titan down? There is only one way to find out, and that is Amzu! As we dive into our first game on Sparring Ring, Astro not even hesitating to bring out the big guns. He is going Dr. Coil, the true and tried main, what many consider the best character in the game, with competing against who is often considered the second best character in the game, Kid Cobra, the ultimate rival to our brilliant Doctor. Coupled with a toaster and popper, that is a lot of coverage, a lot of pressures that Glyph is going to be able to output, a lot of range and coverage, and that massive girth size that Kid Cobra comes with, just going to make it very easy for him to lock onto his target. Twice as he lands another grab, that's 340 damage. Astro maybe a little rusty right now, not as warmed up as Glyph, does manage to secure a nice counter grab, tries to go for the rush, but ends up tasting a bitter bait. Glyph comes in with the rush. That is not going to KO, not just yet, but we are so very close, as Glyph is looking for one more poke, and the popper is going to see it through, claiming the first point of this set. Astro's putting away the nade, recognizing that he might be looking for just that speed, that consistency that Toaster provides. We don't need the explosion. We don't need to punish block when the opponent's just jumping away from everything. We need that little bit of homing. We need that higher speed. We need that instant knockdown and that fiercer rush generation. And Glyph is struggling against just that few extra frames of speed, making it so much more effective and easier for Astro to kind of just pummel down on this Kid Cobra. Patiently wait. You see what we're talking about with the rush. Like, Astro is holding onto this rush. He doesn't seem to be planning on using it until he finds the perfect moment. Confident enough in his lead too that I don't see him wanting to use it this round. Potentially holding out as a counter to Glyph in the next round if he could see a chance and opportunity. We might see one of our classic rush counters. We did see Prince pull one off earlier. We might see Astro pull something off in kind, as those two toasters will be able to not only power through the popper and toaster of Glyph due to height advantage, but just by sheer weight because of the popper being a lighter arm. Excellent 170 damage grab. Blocks Dr. Coil in the corner. We get a nice 275 rush, setting Glyph with a light lead. It is now Astro's turn to respond. He's still holding on to that rush. This is one player that does not forget about that button. He's always looking for the right moment. And oftentimes you'll see that he's looking for the right moment because he will just stand there. We might see him get to that at some point. No, he goes for the catch, but ends up getting caught out by an 80-point chip. Glyph is one hit away from being able to take Dr. Coil out. This rush will help, but it doesn't even need it. Glyph claiming the first set against AstroNinja and securing himself a lead against the best North American player. Is this Glyph's time to shine? Is it time for him to become crowned as the best player in North America? Tails looking in his favor right now as he's got that first point. He's got the opportunity. He's got that momentum. He just needs to be able to keep it. The first game is incredibly important in a best of 5. because that means that you've got that tempo of stage advantage from now on. Your opponent picks, they win. You pick, you win. They pick, they win. You pick, you win. It's over. You move on. The other key moment is often game 3, because that's the other point where it's like, whoever wins that one, if it's not a 3-0 sweep, whoever wins that one, yeah, like, there's 2 ways it goes. It either means it's over, or whoever has won that one now only needs to win 1 more time, where their opponent needs to win twice. But we are now in a situation, Glyph only needs to win twice, Astro needs to win thrice. So that is a little bit, it's not as drastic as the 3rd game, but it is still a pretty sizable climb that Astro will have to be able to pull off. And a right stage pick might be the most important thing for him right now, as we are going to be heading to Buster Beach for game 2. For set 2. Because there are games that happen inside of these little bouts. Looks like Astro is going to stick with Dr. Coil. Curious to see how this is going to play out, because it's really hard to get Dr. Coil in the Hot Pocket, but it is kind of possible. If any character can do it, it is Kid Cobra. But you can absolutely lock Kid Cobra in the Hot Pocket, and I'm pretty sure, if I imagine, that's what Astro is hoping here. But we are going to start off with advantage going to Glyph, starting on the high ground and far away from that Hot Pocket, which means that 50-50 that Astro might have been hoping for is now against him. And he is going to be able to position himself in enough of a way where he's not necessarily scared of the Hot Pocket, but he has to work to get Glyph in, which is probably the more important part. Locked into the corner, 310 damage. Out comes this rush, but Glyph is so far away. We're only getting 265 as Astro meekly reaches in. Scully and Nade combo being a very interesting duo type. Both of them are Flurry Rush arms. They're both punchers. The Nade is a lot slower than the Toaster, but coupled with the Scully, which comes out so fast and has super strong homing, can just mean that there's a lot of situations where he can just catch Glyph's landings, catch him in the act, and manage to get these KOs when and where they count. Friendly reminder, Kid Cobra is hot. As Astro managed to claim that first win, this second game could be very important because it started with Glyph in that ditch area. He has quickly made his way out, so I suppose that's not necessarily what Astro is looking for here. He is just looking for the shape and environment, making it a little more difficult for Glyph to kind of get out of the way of these attacks and pressure, and give Astro a little bit more of a chance to be able to get his own nice 105 damage. Gets the poison as well, which is going to be another 12 chips going in. Could not refresh the stack, which would have just increased it by double, twofold. The Scully and Nade doing a solid job of just like that size and frequency, making it really difficult for the Popper to be able to punch through and get what it was really going for in the sparring ring. Scully also doing a great job of just getting a lot of these landings because of how fast it comes out. It just sees the moments where Glyph is in the air. Astro utilizes his, Dr. Coil's movement to stay out of harm's way, and then he's able to kind of dip in and get these sneaky little hits with the Scully as it immediately just teleports to that landing point and ultimately leads to Astro being able to even the score. Huge props to Scully, which is a very, very underrated arm in the competitive scene, and a lot of people forget just how scary it can be with its high speed. The challenge there is just so many other arms beat it out. So when you use Scully, you're very heavily relying on the other arm for defense. Or you're either relying on the other arm for defense, or you're relying on having such effective movement that it doesn't matter that you have an arm that loses every matchup. And what we saw there was very much the latter, where the nade was also pulling a lot of offensive work too. Dr. Coil gets away with a lot because she's Dr. Coil. You see her hovering in the air, the only character that does not have a jump, because she's always floating. She's always in the air. Even when you bring her down as low as possible, she is still in the air. And it's incredibly frustrating for players because not only alongside that, most characters, if they get hit once while they're in there, they immediately fall back down. Dr. Coil does have the standard hit recovery animation, but hers is faster than everybody else's too. Which means that, like, her hit stun is barely enough to react to. So you're not even planning on capitalizing on that like you would with so many other characters. So many other situations where you could kind of go in for, like, a charge tribal into grab. You can't actually do that with Dr. Coil because not only does she have a lower hit stun, but she also, when she's stunned, she'll just drop down. And then she'll punish you with a grab. And it's hilarious. And terrible. More terrible than hilarious. Same can be said about freezes. There's a lot of situations where Dr. Coil kind of just gets away with a lot. And I hear some people hoping for things to be changed, to be brought into a little bit of a more balanced scene. And let me tell you that there is a beautiful thing called mods. You should look into it. Starting off this next game, this next set, Glyph going in with double toaster to just have a bit more effective opportunities to punch through the Scully. But the downside to this is it's a little bit harder to punch down a Scully because of how small it is, and it's working exactly the same way as on a Buster Beach. This arm, it coupled with the nade, is just proving to be a disastrous duo for Glyph to be able to respond to, as he takes another 275 damage, looking for anything but a Scully to finish Glyph off. Now anything will kill, another Scully will do the job. Unfortunate for Glyph, that double toaster did not seem to work, but we are going to be heading back to our tried and true. Green Stadium is an interesting pick as it allows him to leap into the air, get a lot of the height that Dr. Coil manages to secure herself. But if you're not able to utilize those springboards, kind of just ends up being a place where Dr. Coil just has even more height advantage. She just gets that much taller and that much more difficult to hit with your attacks. So it's very dependent on the player who isn't Coil to be able to utilize the springboards to their fullest capability. Otherwise, you kind of get what we're seeing here, where Glyph is just struggling to keep up with AstroNinja, who is just hovering around, drifting onto the springboard, and then just staying even higher, because he just has to put even less work into the situation. $37 seconds left on the clock. Glyph has no health left. He has to get everything perfect from here on to be able to claim a point in the set. Sees a chance, but his landing leg is going to allow Astro to capitalize on the moment. And you remember what I was saying about Game 3 being one of the most important games of a set? It's now in Astro's hands, which is a very, very rough place for Glyph to be. He managed to secure that first game. But now Astro is up 2-1. And is just looking for one more game to be that grand finalist in advantage position, where Glyph is in need of taking 2 wins, not only off a stage of his choosing, but of Astro's choosing. Yeah, Astro removed, like, I see where Glyph was going with this. Mausoleum, Sparring, and Via Dolce are all three some of the worst stages that Dr. Coil could wind up in. And logically, you go with the Spring Stadium because it's like, it's basically sparring ring, but with the extra little bit of space. Unfortunately, that's a completely different game for when Dr. Coil is in play. You can't just ignore the trampoline or the springs on the back line. You have to utilize them in a matchup against Dr. Coil because Dr. Coil's using them against you, and it's a much easier case for her as well. Am I seeing things correctly? We are seeing a wild counter pick here. The fuck it we ball situation where Glyph has switched over to Dr. Coil, going in with the secondary color alts and rolling with Toaster Popper, as Astro will be rolling with the Nade Toaster once more. Popper is a very fantastic choice against Dr. Coil. Whipping that rush! Because of the fact that it has that wide coverage. But it doesn't really play out as well on Dr. Coil. Just because of the way she kind of moves around. It doesn't really reward as much as just going for the boring option. Dr. Coil is rewarded so much for being boring, where most characters, if they go double glove, they kind of lock themselves into, like, they don't get to do these big hops nearly as much. They have to play a lot more consistent of a boxing game. Dr. Coil is just that always. She doesn't have to sacrifice her jumps. So not only is she incredibly good at just moving around, but she isn't hampered in the slightest by just doing glove boxing. Which most characters aren't, but she especially is not. Like, it doesn't even exist. She just gets to play for free, while everybody else is trying to contend. We are at 48 seconds left on the clock. I'm pretty sure Astro's already recognized that he's won this game. He is playing this as patiently as possible. Does not want to make a mistake like this. Both players are on their final pixel. Now it is a final hit to close things out. Glyph might be able to get the mirror to take Astro out. Try to just box everything down. He does not have to worry about his own gloves blowing him up. He's just going for these punches, but the nade finds its mark. And Glyph will not be able to survive this battle. AstroNinja will be victorious with a score of 3-1. And will be advancing to the grand finals advantaged position as a result. Glyph put his heart out there. And unfortunately for him, he's going to have to put his heart out even more if he wants to win this invitational, as he will be moving to the lower finals bracket and will be awaiting his next foe there.